Okay, welcome to Mount Gilead Library this morning. We're in the story room this morning, and I'd like to show you what's going on in the story room. We have, right here, we have Jack and the Beanstalk. And over here, we have Cinderella. And here we have an amazing castle. And over here, we have the three bears. And then over here, we have Once Upon a Time. And then we have some clouds and some trees. And we want to welcome you to our new story time room. Our new story time room. And I'm going to sit here at the keyboard, and we're going to start with some music. Are you ready? So we're going to start with, we had 8 children here in person this morning for story time, and you can be a part of that too if you live in Mount Gilead. But on Wednesday mornings at 10:45. But anyway, we're going to start with the Hokey Pokey. All right? You ready to put your right foot in? You put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, you put your right foot in and you shake it all about. You do the Hokey Pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Are you ready with your left foot? You put your left foot in, you put your left foot out, you put your left foot in and you shake it all about. You do the Hokey Pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Yes. All right. We are going to start with a story. We're going to be using all type fairy tale stories in the next 2 weeks because our theme is tales. And then later on this summer, it's going to be tales like the tales of animals. But this is story tales. So we're going to start with fairy tales. And this one is called The Princess and the Pit Stop. And if you can see from the picture, this is going to be like the Indy 500. It has where they go around this circle 500 times. And this is what this story is going to be about. The princess. She's driving a race car. Once upon a time, there was a princess who made a pit stop. When the birds and beasts were changing her tires, her fairy godmother told her she was in the last place and there was 1 lap to go. She might as well just give up. But instead, the princess hit the gas. She passed Humpty Dumpty. She passed all the king's horses. She passed all the king's men. She roared down the straightaway, running the 3 bears off the road. She flew past the wicked witches from Hansel and Gretel, Sleeping Beauty, and the Wizard of Oz. She spun out Rumpelstiltskin and butted in front of the 3 Billy Goats Gruff. She leapt past Flopsy, Mopsy, and Peter Rabbit. She drove right over Tom Thumb and right under the giant. She beat Jack and Jill down the hill and past little Jack Horner in the corner. She blew the doors off the big bad wolf and smoked the 3 little pigs. She charged past the knight and cut off the dragon. She outraced the tortoise, outraced the tortoise and the hare. She honked at the golden goose, blew a kiss to the ugly duckling, and then screeched past 24 blackbirds. She made the 7 dwarfs grumpy and left Snow White in a cloud of dust. They all tried to beat her, but the cobbler got clobbered, and little boy Blue blew it. And the gingerbread man admitted, "She can catch me." And little Bo Peep and her sheep tried to stay with her, but the princess lost them. There were just 2 more cars to beat. The ugly stepsisters. The stepsisters swerved. The stepsisters curved. They bumped. They blocked. But when they got scared and hit the brakes, the princess stepped on the gas. She crossed the finish line and she won the race. She spun donuts on the track. She grabbed her trophy, posed for pictures, and even made a commercial, and invited everyone to a big ball at the castle later. And so the princess lived happily after, come on, Prince, we've got a dance contest to win. The end. She didn't live happily ever after. She went after something else, didn't she? Okay, we have a little thing we're going to do with our hands, okay? Are you ready? Fairy tales, read them every day. Oh, what fun it is to hear how Goldilocks got away. Fairy tales, full of joy and laughter. Do you know how this one ends? Well, happily ever after. Can you do that with me? Fairy tales, read them every day. Oh, what fun it is to hear how Goldilocks got away. Fairy tales, full of joy and laughter. Do you know how this one ends? Well, it's happily ever after. Yes. Let's move on to another story. This story is Gingerbread Baby. Not the gingerbread boy. This is the Gingerbread Baby. It was cold outside. It was warm inside. A fine day for gingerbread, Maddie thought. Maddie's mother put the big blue bowl on the table and lit the stove. Maddie took down a worn-looking cookbook with old-fashioned writing on the cover. He opened it up to the page that said, Gingerbread Boy. They measured and mixed. Maddie rolled the dough into the shape of a gingerbread boy, and they popped him in the oven. Bake a full 8 minutes. No more, no less, and do not peek, the recipe read. Maddie listened to the clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5. Maddie couldn't wait any longer. He opened the oven door to peek in, and instead of a gingerbread boy, out jumped a gingerbread baby. The baby pranced around the big blue bowl. I am a gingerbread baby, fresh from the pan. If you want me, catch me if you can. Maddie's mother reached for the gingerbread baby to put him back in the oven, but he ran all around the kitchen. The door opened, and in came Maddie's father. What a delicious smell, he asked as the gingerbread baby tumbled through his legs and outside into the yard. He ran by the tabby cat. She twitched her tail and sprang at him. They rumbled and tumbled, but the gingerbread baby came out on top. He ran toward the garden wall. The dog caught a whiff of tasty ginger and sniffed along behind him. But the gingerbread baby was halfway up when the dog caught up. He barked and barked as the gingerbread baby climbed over the wall. Oh no! Matty was still inside. He heard his mother and father yelling. He heard a cat meowing and a dog barking. And he heard the gingerbread baby shouted, "Catch me if you can." Matty opened up the worn-looking cookbook for the second time. Meanwhile, the gingerbread baby wheeled on down the path and into the barn. The goats looked up as he somersaulted across their backs. The last one tried to catch him, but the gingerbread baby was too fast. Martha and Madeline were standing by the well when the gingerbread baby stopped to take a drink. They looked at each other and winked. Martha started to talk to him while Madeline tiptoed up behind him with the bucket. But they couldn't fool the gingerbread baby. Oh no. He took a braid from Martha and a braid from Madeline and tied them in a knot and ran down the road. Oh no! Back in the house, Matty stirred, mixed, and rolled the dough. He shaped it, put it in a pan, and into the oven. Tick-tock, tick-tock, 8 minutes long. This time he didn't peek. "I will catch him if I can," Matty said to himself. As he was bouncing along, the gingerbread baby saw a farm wagon just ahead. He jumped in and settled down for the ride next to a mama pig. The smell of gingerbread was too much for her. She tossed him high in the air, closed her eyes, and opened her mouth. But the gingerbread baby twisted in the air and came down hard on her porky snout. I am the gingerbread baby, too quick for the mother and the father, too fast for the cat and the dog and the goats, too clever for Martha and Madeline, too smart for the mama pig. Who's left? Ha ha, catch me if you can. Feeling smug, the gingerbread baby strolled along by himself until he came to a bridge that crossed over to the village. Just as he got to the middle, he heard running feet behind him and saw a crowd of villagers ahead of him. The gingerbread baby was trapped. He jumped up onto the railing, backflipped through the air, and landed on a chunk of ice floating down the river. The ice bobbed along with the gingerbread baby, dancing on top and singing in a loud voice, "Look at me, and what do you see? The best gingerbread baby ever," until his feet got cold and he jumped ashore. Who was that watching from the trees? It was the fox. He crept up behind the gingerbread baby, ready to eat him up, but the fox couldn't help himself, and he licked his chops. Nom, nom. And the gingerbread baby heard it and ran as fast as he could. Just when the fox was catching up, the gingerbread baby saw the milk and cheese man with the can of milk. The perfect hiding place, he thought. He lifted the lid and lowered himself inside with the milk. He was so pleased that he sang at the top of his gingerbread voice, "Ha ha, hee hee, you'll never find me. I'm the gingerbread baby. Catch me if you can." The milk and cheese man heard the gingerbread baby's voice. "Who is meddling with my milk?" he shouted and lifted the lid. But the gingerbread baby was ready. He jumped up and tweaked the old man's nose. Now the milk and cheese man, the fox, the villagers, the mama pig, Martha and Madeline, the bleating goats, the barking dog, the meowing cat, the father and the mother were all after the gingerbread baby and getting closer. And he knew it. The brash baby was not as peppy and proud as he had been. He sniffed a familiar smell and followed his nose into the woods. Look what he saw. He couldn't believe what he saw. There in the middle of the clearing was a gingerbread house, frosted with sugar, covered with candy, and doors with peppermint handles wide open. The gingerbread baby clapped his hands with glee and ran inside. In a tick-tock-tick, everyone arrived in the clearing, but all they found were a few bits of frosting, a peppermint candy, and some crumbs. The father exclaimed, "The gingerbread baby has finally met his match." "I wonder who it was," the mother said. "Let's go home and tell Maddie." "Hello, Maddie," his father said when they got home. "We never did catch the gingerbread baby. All we found were some crumbs in the snow." "I see you have been busy," his mother said, looking at the gingerbread house Maddie was holding. "Too bad we never caught the gingerbread baby." "Too bad," said Maddie. Only Maddie could hear the tiny voice from inside the gingerbread house. Who was inside? "I'm the little gingerbread baby, lucky as can be, to be living in the house that Maddie made for me." Oh, good story. Good story. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. And then if you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. And if you're happy and you know it, shout, "Hooray!" Are you ready to sing with me? If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray. Good job. One more song, one more book we have today. Do you remember the nursery rhyme? Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Well, this story happens after the fall. Wonder what happens to Humpty Dumpty. It's how Humpty Dumpty got back up again. My name is Humpty Dumpty. This was my favorite spot, high up on the wall. I know it's an odd place for an egg to live, but I loved being close to the birds. Then one day, I fell. I'm sort of famous for that. Folks called it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand, but really it was an accident. But it changed my life. Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together. There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue. After that day, I was afraid of heights. I was so scared that it kept me from enjoying some of my favorite things. Couldn't climb the ladder. Was too scared. I walked past the wall every day, and I would think about climbing that ladder again. I really missed the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it because I knew that accidents can happen. I eventually settled for watching the birds from the ground. Look, he has a pair of binoculars. It wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then one day, an idea flew by. Do you know what that is? A paper airplane, yes. Making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches, but day after day I kept trying and trying until I got it just right. Look at that beautiful bird. That's a paper bird. My plane was perfect, and it flew like nothing could stop it. I felt that happy. I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. It wasn't the same as being up in the sky with the birds, but it was close. Unfortunately, accidents happened. I wonder what accident happened this time. They always do. Look where the bird airplane is headed, on top of the wall. I almost walked away again. But then I thought about all the time I'd spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. I decided I was going to climb that wall. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it, but I was terrified. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing, one step at a time. Is he going to make it to the top? Oh, let's find out. Until I was no longer afraid. Look, he's up on top. Maybe you won't think of me as the egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully, you'll remember me as the egg who got back up and learned how to fly. Wow. Did you expect that ending? Did you expect Humpty Dumpty to learn how to fly? I didn't really either. That's what makes fairy tales so exciting. Fairy tales, read them every day. Oh, what fun it is to hear how Goldilocks got away. Fairy tales, full of joy and laughter. Do you know how this one ends? Well, it's happily ever after. Until next time, more fairy tales next week. This is Miss Linda from Mount Gilead Library. Bye.